Good morning, all. I'm Jsslynn, and today I'm here with Felicia, Fikri, Virgio, and Yudha, and we'd like to present our facility design final project. Before I begin, I'll explain the content of this presentation, which mainly consists of two sections, namely layout design procedures and also cost calculation. The first section here is also divided into two, and you'll talk about the factory and office first, which is done using LDAP and block plan. First of all, we must input the data that have been determined in the previous project. Activity relationship chart, or ARC here, explains the relationship between departments. While the space requirement here determines the area needed for each department. By inputting this data, we use LDAP to generate the initial layout of factory as shown in the figure on the right. The next step is to generate layout alternatives using block plan. Here we can see the first, second, and the third layout generated using the software. Lastly, we also evaluated the layout alternatives by comparing their adjacency square, S-score, and RELD score. Here we can see that layout 3 has the highest adjacency score of 0.33. Based on this, layout 3 is the chosen alternative.
Okay, next is initial layout for office. LDAP is used to build the initial layout of the plan and office once the preceding data has been entered. Next slide, please. For the layout generation, we use block plan to analyze and score the layout, as we can see in the figure number 1, 2, and 3 in the next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. The three layout variants are compared based on their adjacency and relative distance ratings. Layout 2 has been selected as the preferred choice as a result of this. Next slide, please. In the production floor, we discussed about from to chart, initial layout, layout generation, layout evaluation, and design. Next slide, please. This is the calculation of from to chart for production floor. Next slide, please. This figure shows the space requirement for each area in production floor. Next slide will be explained by my friend.
The initial layout. In the initial layout, to input the previous data card used to be generated, the initial layout of factory and office. In the figure, so the production flow of initial layout and find the optimized layout with the list cost and several alterations need to be done from the initial layout. Next, please. So the next is layout generation. As we can see from figure 1, so the first iteration suite department 10 and 30, which the result in the reduction cost is 2033 from 50,161 to 30,138. The second figure, so the second iteration within the department 7 and 12, which the result in the reduction cost is 1,056 from the 30,138 to 12,082. In the third figure, so the third iteration with the last iteration for the production, the third iteration increased the overall by the one from 12,082 to 12,803. Next slide, please. So the next is layout evaluation. Layout evaluation done by comparing the cost of each layout. So based on all that iteration that's shown in the slide, we choose the second iteration because the cost is 12,082, which is the less than initial iteration. Next slide, please.
So after determining the optimum layout for factory, office, and production floor, we can then proceed to the template design. The visitors and the workers first enter through the gate near the security room on the lower left part. and continue to the parking lot according to their vehicle type, which consists of cars, motorbikes, or trucks. The layout here is mostly divided into two. The upper part consists of office, green area, cafeteria, healthcare, and mushola, while the lower part consists of production floor, restroom for operator, shipping and receiving, storage, warehouse, and locker room.
So the next is material handling cost. Material handling cost is the cost that areas result of material activity from one machine to another machine, from one department to another. Was the amount determined a certain extent? Next step, please. So the next is input. The material handling is equipment is the summary for all movement between department in the optimum layout. In is information is also used and input in the figure. So the department information detail, they are each of department color, area required, area defined, etc., y sector, and sequence.
Next is the calculation. After determining the material handling equipment, the distance traveled per hour is calculated using distance and transport times. And lastly, total material handling cost is found for each movement between departments. Next. Next is material handling cost. So in here, the percentage determined using cycle times times unit per hour, and then after all data we can determine the cost per unit per hour. Next, please. Next is production cost. In here, production cost contains of direct indirect material cost, direct indirect labor costs, machine equipment costs, and office and other facility costs. Next. Next is direct material costs. There are three types. First is for engine, and the second one is for gondola, and the third is for boxcar. So in here, the total cost for all is 931,000. Next. Next is indirect material costs. In here, we get the total cost from price times rate per hour. So the whole total is 515,000. Next is direct labor cost. There are 11 operator, and the number of operator is got from the previous project, and the salary we assume, and then the total salary is determined by number of operator times salary, and the total salary is for all is 1,175,000. Next is indirect labor cost. In here, the position of the staff is there are 24 position, and then the number of worker and the salary we assume, and the total salary for all is 1,600,000. Next.
So next, we calculated the investment costs for the machine and equipment in the production floor. And as you can see here, there's a total of 9 investment that we have, which includes the following machine and equipments seen on the table. And we calculated for the number of each, the number of each machine, and also the price, total investment, and we also take into account the depreciation per year and also the depreciation per hour. And as you can see, the total of depreciation per year is at 222 million and 89,246 rupiah. Next. Aside from the investment costs that we calculated previously in the production floor, we also calculated the investment costs in within the office and other facilities. And here, the table here shows an example of the director room and the secretary room. However, in the report, there's many other offices that we calculated and also other facilities. So, for example, in the director room, there is 9 investment that is present with, and we also calculated the total amount as well, and the same thing for the secretary room with 7 items, and we also calculated the depreciation per year and also per hour. So the depreciation summary for the investment on machinery and equipment in the production floor and investment in the office and other facility, we total everything for per year and per hour. And per year, we calculated that it will cost us 645 million 27,926 rupiah, while per hour it's at 74,656 rupiah. So aside from cost of investment, we also calculated other expenses, which includes utilities, offices, supplies, machinery maintenance costs, building maintenance costs, water costs, electricity, and tax. As you know, when you run a company, many other expenses should be taken into account. And so we totaled everything per year. It will cost us 473 million rupiah, or 227,404 rupiah per hour. So here we have the proportion summary, which is the proportion of each product type, and that we determine this using the cycle time and demand per hour. So the majority of the demand is the EBV at 54.46%, followed by the EGBG product, which is at 45.54%, and the EGB, which is the least, at 37.63%. So after we know the three products is in demand, we calculated the production cost per product. So we sum up all of the costs involved in the production. Then we can calculate the production cost for each product. So as mentioned previously by my friend, also from the labor costs, machine costs, investment, other expenses, the depreciation costs, and all of the costs that we have mentioned earlier, we take into account all of those to calculate for the production cost per product. And as you can see here, yeah, from number 1 to number 2, there is the direct cost, material cost, labor cost, material handling, indirect cost, depreciation, and other expenses. And as you can see, the total cost, the total production cost is highest for the EGBG and EBB, and the least is the EGB at 57,353 rupiah per unit, while EGBG at 74,347 rupiah per unit, and the middle is EBB at 59,297 rupiah per unit. So that is it from for our report. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation.